So we're just about a week out from Election Day. How are you feeling going into this home stretch?
I'm feeling pretty optimistic. I've always been a long shot, but, David beat Goliath with a stone. And, Rocky beat Creed. Well, in Rocky 2 anyway. The fact is, when I am out, and I've been doing my best to get out and meet as many people as I can, so many are dissatisfied with the status quo. So many people are looking for a change, and they really appreciate that I have no PAC funding, that I am just a regular person, a working class person who cares about his community and who cares about Philadelphia and cares about our country.
Give me a little bit about your platform. What are your priorities in this race?
So my main priorities in this race are going to be Medicare for all, or some kind of universal access to health care, doubling our minimum wage, and also reining in the executive branch to protect our civil liberties, and then finally regulating data centers because of the stress on the utility grid, particularly electricity and water, which we normal people should not be paying for.
One of those topics that comes up often, we've heard it over the last 2 years, the word affordability, right? It's a broad term.
Mm-hmm.
Specifics, any specifics you can give me, any concrete ideas you can give me, if you were to win, that you could take to Washington and say, this is how I want to make people's lives more affordable.
Sure. So if I were in Washington, I would withhold my vote for a speaker until there is a vote on the floor for either universal health care universal health care, either the Medicare for All Act or something similar, and for a higher minimum wage, because I think at minimum, the representatives should be on record whether they believe health care is universal, is a basic right of Americans, and also whether hardworking Americans should be paid better. So those are two things I could possibly effectuate in the first week.
So tell me, as a tax accountant, as somebody who's worked for the state, what makes you want to jump into a race for Congress,
right,
especially given the political climate that we're in
Sure.
right now?
So everyone who represents us has an agenda, but I'm just concerned about, people. And I have, because I work in this tax office, interacted with thousands of people every year, see the struggles they have, but also see the successes and the aspirations. And similarly, having decided on unemployment appeals, I've seen the struggles that both small businesses have, as well as the actual claimants. So everything that I care about comes from lived experience and interacting with real people. And I think that is one of the things that really sets me apart, but also is why I am so motivated, because I'm not here to build my resume. I'm not here to pay back any favors from any supporters, any PACs or private. I'm here because I've seen how people struggle, and I myself, grew up in a working class family, and I am the guy who actually has not just the lived experience, but also sort of plans on how to take those theories and put them into practice.
So when we talk about the district, CD3, very big, right? You go from Passyunk to Rittenhouse to Cobbs Creek, Germantown, Mount Airy, up here in Roxborough. What do you think you bring to the race that people from all these diverse backgrounds can connect to?
So it should be noted that I'm the only candidate who actually has ever lived in West Philly. I lived in Cobbs Creek for 8 years before I got married. I'm the only one who lives in South Philly. I live in Grays Ferry since I've got married. Before that, I'd lived in Fairmount before I bought my house in Cobbs Creek. And also I built this practice here in Roxborough. So I know lots of people all throughout the district. So that's one thing. But also I've had the great sort of pleasure of growing up in Western Pennsylvania, going to college in Chicago, going to law school in San Francisco, and then also doing volunteer work in various countries throughout Latin America. And I have gotten to know so many people and understand sort of the core essence of what unites us as people, our desires to, of course, protect our families, to retire with dignity. And those are sort of like my worldview, my understanding of how I need to live and also how I need to serve others. So I think that I'm the person in the race who has the most, the best understanding of what it is to be human, what it is to be working class, mixed with sort of the legal background and sort of a tactical mind that allows me to both empathize but also effectuate.
As someone who has never been a politician before, and I believe this is your first campaign?
It is.
Do you think that's an asset? Do you think it's a learning curve if you were to win?
So I would say at this point it is an asset for a couple of reasons. One, when I'm talking to people on the street, I can say with sincerity, I am the only person in this race who is not backed by any PACs. According to the Inquirer, everyone else has at least $1 million in PAC funding. I have just me, my friends, and a handful of supporters. And I'm also the one who has spent years having to interpret legislation as someone who worked as an administrative law judge or appeals referee, similar to an administrative law judge. So anytime I'm drafting legislation or co-sponsoring or editing legislation, I have in my mind that somebody who works for the government is going to actually have to put this into practice, because I had to do that for years. So I think that those things kind of set me apart, whereas all the other candidates, or none of the other candidates, bring that amalgam of experience and also like sincerity.
And that's one thing I wanted to ask you, because you said it yourself, like you've always been a long shot. You're going up against some names people know, right? Two state lawmakers, a doctor who's pretty well known in the area. What do you think it is that sets you apart from the other candidates in this race?
I think the first thing is that there is no PAC funding, because when I am on the street just trying to meet people, a lot of times people start to walk past and I'm able to say, hey, I am the one person in this race who has no PAC funding, and people turn around and they're like, okay, I want to hear about what you're doing. If I go to Washington, I'm only going to represent Philadelphia. I don't owe anyone favors. I am not bought. I am not paid for. And I think that is probably the biggest distinction. And then also sort of as my platform, I'm the only one who mentions regulating data centers. And it turns out people ask me every day about that because they understand that it's going to cost a lot as far as electricity, as far as water, and also privacy. So it turns out that even though I was only concerned about that sort of on an environmental and also affordability issue, it's resonating with a lot of Philadelphians, and I'm the only person who's put it forth as part of his platform.
Let's say you win, you're off to Washington. What's day one priority? What's priority one when you get there?
Making sure that we have Medicare for all or some similar bill put forth for a vote. Let's just put it on record. Who in the House believes that healthcare is a human right and who doesn't?
Shaun, you know, there was a poll, a Gallup poll late last month, said 86% of Americans disapprove of the job Congress is doing. It's really hard to get Americans to agree on anything. 86% agreed on this. What would you do if elected to kind of restore faith, people's faith in Congress?
So there are many things I would do. One would be, hopefully every weekend or so, I would be back in Philadelphia and I'd be meeting with constituents. I'd like to have at least one forum per month where I meet directly with constituents, and then one with, say, organizations within Philadelphia to make sure that their needs are being met, to find out what are their current needs. But also, I would not only not take PAC funding now, I would never take it even for, say, any re-election. The idea being that I never want to be in a position where I have to compromise the needs of the people of Philadelphia because I owe anyone favors.
All right, Shaun, a little more than a week out. Give me your last pitch to voters. Why should they vote for you?
I am the real deal. I am the person who is in this race to fight for Philadelphia. I am the person who is in this race because I looked around and I saw that most people can't afford housing. Most people can't afford medical emergencies. I've met many of these people in the tax office. I met some of these people doing unemployment appeals. And the fact is, I decided to join this race because I am the person who has come from a very modest kind of working class family, and I was able to achieve some modicum of success, and now I wish to fight for the people who are like me, who are struggling to make ends meet, the people who have aspirations, and I want to make sure that I am able to allow other people to succeed and have the American dream, much like I have been able to.